Creating recipes is basically just dependent on what's available, ingredients. Maybe I see a new hop or taste a style of beer and I decide I don't want to brew that style of beer or use that hop.
Cameron's the head brewer, so he comes up, he's the mad scientist, I suppose.
As the seasons go on in Norway, you sort of get more interested in the different styles. You know, in the colder time, you're wanting to do some more darker style beers. In the summer, some lighter beers. When different ingredients become available, you want to start working with them. So we just sort of roll with the punches, and whatever's sort of interesting or available at the time is what sort of inspires us. And there's also some local restaurants and bars that are interested in having their own style of beer or their own house beer. They see trends in what they sell well, and sometimes they ask us to make special style ales for them with special ingredients or that sort of thing. But basically we just sort of going with the flow. You know, if people contact us wanting us to do a beer, we're happy to do that, and we're also experimenting with our own ingredients and interest in different things. We like to experiment with different fruits and different spices and herbs and that sort of thing.
It's what we kind of feel like doing. It's a bit of artistic, creative license, I suppose. Nobody's really telling us what to do. The main ingredients, the malt and things like that, we get from where everybody else buys their malt. But for the funny little additions, we try and use as locally sourced as we can. Try and keep it in the area.
We're just sort of experimenting with different hop varieties, different yeast strains and that sort of thing. We're also using a local Norwegian yeast strain, Norwegian farmhouse ale, for our Stryn farmhouse ale. We do have a couple of strains that we use for quite a few beers, but because of our small scale, we can buy a lot of different types of fresh yeast, and it's at quite a low cost and that sort of thing. And we're also reusing the yeasts. We're washing the yeasts and reusing them. So I think being on this scale of brewery, we have the ability to experiment more with the different ingredients without a huge sort of financial cost. We're not super interested in brewing, the same 2 or 3 beers just constantly and pumping out large volumes of something. We have sort of a couple of different concepts for our beers. We have like an all year round range of beers, and these beers have sort of been brewed a few times, sort of test batches, developing the recipes. Some of the all year round beers start off as a one-off beer. So we have our core range, then we have our one-off range and special beers. So the one-off beers are obviously sort of no recipe development, it's just basically the paper recipe to a beer. And if we're really happy with the results, we then develop that recipe, and it's possible that the one-off beer or the special beer comes into the core range. We have started doing a couple of collaboration beers with other breweries. We always find it interesting to go and spend a day brewing with a brewery and see how they do things, and get to know them a little bit better, and why they brew the beers they brew and that sort of thing. Doing a collaboration beer is a good way of sort of creating a network and building a relationship with breweries.
If it's a beer that we do here, like we brew it, it's kind of our beer, but the other brewery comes and empties a mash tun and adds some hops and does things like that, and it's vice versa. If we go somewhere, just create beer together and create a bit more of a community, I suppose, because you know the guys personally instead of just seeing a beer bottle with a name on it. Some of the hops that we use is Australian, the Galaxy. You don't really see that much Australian products, but we would like to make a Vegemite beer, if you know what Vegemite is. Yeah.
Yeah, I smelled it.
Yeah.
I tasted it with my tongue.